Okay, on this episode of the Stonewall Stories, I'm going to put my 2 cents in on cycles, blasting and cruising, and TRT. So, I'm not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form. I'm not a doctor. This is just some experiences I've had, and I get a lot of questions from younger kids on not on how to use testosterone, but just like, can I get it for them, or stuff like, I don't condone using testosterone, but if you're going to use it, I suggest you know some things about it, maybe do your research. I've done a little bit of research over the years, so I'm going to share some information with you real quick about it. So cycles, blasting and cruising, TRT. First off, let's get this out of the way. If you're under 25, I don't suggest you use it. The only way I would really even entertain the thought of using testosterone under the age of 25 is if you had a chance of making a 40-man roster or a professional contract to where there was millions of dollars at stake. That's the only way I would even entertain the thought. Absolutely not under 21, because 17 to 21-year-old males are just learning how to use their testosterone. A lot of them can't handle it as it is. Now you want to, if you were to just go above the normal range, they would be trying to run through brick walls and knock each other out. I think you should wait longer. 3 to 5 years of minimum 3 times a week in the gym, preferably more, so you have a good understanding of sufficient rest, how to diet, before you even think about it. I wouldn't go on after like working out for a year or something like that. So my personal experience with cycles is I run them a little bit longer, 12 to 14 weeks on, 2 weeks tapered down, like half the dose. Then 2 weeks off of everything, letting the esters clear the body, and then doing the PCT, which is your post-cycle therapy. You're going to be your Clomid, your Novadex, HCG optional. If you do choose HCG, I wouldn't run it longer than 2 weeks. You know, after that, your body will start to need it. That's not the theory behind HCG. Theory behind HCG is to kick your body and to start producing its natural testosterone and then come off. So I would get a book like this, a little notebook, and just plan my my cycles out. If you can see that there, that's how I do my shots. And then I wrote them down in the dates, so you're not just winging it. You want to keep track so you can track your progress. It will just, in the long run, it's going to help you. So, let's say we're getting underground labs, or UGLs as they're known, 500 ml a week, 250 on Monday, 250 on Tuesday. Those are 2 shots. Some people do it 1 day a week. I feel like splitting them out, you get a more consistent level, especially if you're using Testosterone or something with longer esters. But for the sake of this video, we're going to just do cypionate and test enanthate, which cypionate is the US version, enanthate is your UK or your Australian version, I believe. So my opinion, cypionate's a little bit cleaner. So you don't want to go on and then just give your body the natural test level you would anyway. If you're going to run a cycle, you want to run 500 ml a week. 250 is only going to bring you up to where a natural level would be anyway. So you're going to shut your test down to give it your natural level. That's why I don't agree with going 250. I know you want to start small, and that is the key. You know, get as much as you can with the little bit amount. You shouldn't have to use a ton of it. You want to make it stretch. A little can do a lot if you know how to diet, exercise, and rest sufficiently. So I run them longer only because first couple cycles you're only going to start noticing progress around week 6. Could be a little earlier, could be a little later, but if you're using something like SUS, it's going to be week 6. 500 for the weeks 1 through 12, and then I go down for 2 or 3 weeks to 1 shot a week, and then 2 weeks of waiting, letting the ester clear your body, so that's nothing for 2 weeks. Then your PCT, 4 to 6 weeks, depending on if you ran a longer cycle, 6 weeks of PCT. A shorter one, you could, 4 weeks of PCT. Your Clomid Novadex is your PCT, 50 and 40, or you could do 140. Some guys drop down to half that. The last couple of weeks they'll go down to 50 mgs or 25 mgs of Clomid and 20 mgs of Novadex. HCG is optional. Test only. If it's your first cycle, test only. You don't want to stack anything just yet. After your first cycle, then if you want to add an oral on your second, and then your third, if you want to add in start stacking like a test in DECA or a test in EQ, and then an oral, either Anadrol or D-ball, T-ball, whatever is floating your boat. So 12 to 14 weeks you're on, then the 2 weeks of the half dose, and then 2 weeks of nothing, letting the esters clear your body, then the PCT. Then you're off for 12 weeks of everything. Then it's okay if you want to go back on, but that's generally how cycles work. Blasting and cruising. So in my experience, I was in my early 30s. My testosterone was not where I thought it should be. I got tested. I came back at 510 total test level, and it was just a little too low for me and my body. I'm an ectomorph. 600 I need minimum to put on muscle. I hit a plateau probably at 170, 180. I really couldn't get past that, and that's when I started researching doctors, and a lot of doctors didn't want to write me because they felt I was in range, and they say, oh, 3 to 900 is a normal range. That's a huge range. Typically a testosterone 17 to 25 is going to be around 1,000 or 900. That's a good test level. That's a normal test level. As you get into your early 30s, maybe before that, it could drop off. So after I did cycling, that's when I started researching blasting and cruising more. For if you're older, or like I am, upper 30s, 40s, blasting and cruising I feel is a better option rather than cycling off, cycling back on. It's too much swing. I feel there's more levelness with blasting and cruising. My typical blast, I'll blast for 10 to 16 weeks, and then I'll come down and cruise for 12 to 26 depending. So it'll look something like this in my plan, my cycle plan, or whatever you want to call it. So here's the blast. I go up 2 shots to 4 shots a week depending, but typically on the UGLs are underdosed a lot, so sometimes I'll have to go up to 1,000 ml, which is 4 shots a week or 4 cc's a week. About week 12 to week 16, that's when I'll come down and cruise. I'll cruise at something like a TRT dose. If it's pharma grade, US pharma grade, 200 ml is how the testosterone cypionate comes. UGL underground labs, they come in at around 250. There are others, but let's say 250. I will run a little bit higher if I'm cruising on a UGL on an underground lab and I don't have any pharma grade. I'll run it probably a half of cc higher, just because I know that 200 pharma or 250 underground lab is only going to bring me up to about 600. A lot of doctors like to stay there. They feel safe there. I think 8 to 1200 is the range I like to be in. You don't have to go that high. That's just where I feel best. Also, I compete. I've competed before, so this is not for like just somebody with TRTs. This is obviously for somebody who bodybuilds. There are some credentials, so you know I'm not full of shit. I have some experience with this. I wouldn't tell anybody anything to do anything that I haven't done myself, or pass off bogus information just because I want to make money off some kid or some shit like that. I believe these kids should be educated. We've become a nation of fast fixes. We want me. We want it now. We don't want to wait. And PEDs, you know, they'll help and everything. But once you go down this road, if you're playing around with your hormones and you're not above 25, you may have to deal with the consequences the rest of your life. So do your research and make sure that it's a lifelong, it could possibly be a lifelong commitment. So with the blasting and cruising, I run an AI, an aromatase inhibitor, either aromasin or Arimidex. You're going to want to use that on cycle, and then you can use it during your PCT. When you blast and cruise, I use it probably a half a pill a week. Sometimes I'll split a whole pill up in a week if my estrogen gets a little high. I go by feel. A couple times I've been in the shower and ran over my nipple with the washcloth, and you could tell it's sensitive. I mean, I could tell it's sensitive, so that's a dead giveaway that your estrogen's going a little too high. Maybe bump up the AI. Now, I'm an ectomorph, so if you're an endomorph and you're more prone to gyno, you're going to want to go higher on an AI. You're probably going to want it every other day or something. Just be mindful when you run an AI every other day. It's going to put your HDL, your good cholesterol, in the dirt. If you go for a blood test, it probably won't even register if you're doing a lot of AI or a heavy amount of AI. But if you're not going to get gyno, it's okay to have your HDL down that low for a little bit. I mean, it's not okay, but it's safe, I don't think, and there'll be any serious consequences for a little while. When I blast, I like my total test to be up around 1,500 to 2,000 total. Some guys go higher, some guys go up to 5,000, maybe higher. Wouldn't recommend that, especially if it's your first cycle. Excuse me. Blood work and blood pressure. Always check your blood pressure because it can go up. Now, depending on who it is, some people, testosterone, it doesn't really go nowhere. Tren and other compounds will raise your blood pressure. You want to keep an eye on it. Trends for another video. So I'll blast for 12 weeks and then I'll cruise for 12 weeks minimum. I might go as long as 26 depending on some factors. TRT looks pretty much like this. It's the whole, you do one shot a week, 200 ml, all through. There's no PCT. You're still running AI, aromatase inhibitor. You don't have to PCT. HCG, you can run it. With test, your natural testosterone will shut down. So if you want to turn them back on, HCG can help with that. But Clomid and Novadex are mandatory. HCG is optional if you want to go for HCG. HCG is a needle, probably in the stomach is how I did it. It's not that much fun. Don't use it that long. 2 weeks max and then you're off. You don't want to have your body start getting used to getting that, because then they won't turn on naturally. That's defeating the purpose after that. So if you use HCG, use it with the first 2 weeks of the PCT, which would be here. Alright. Alright, so that's all I'm going to do on this particular video. I just wanted to give out some information and hopefully if you're questioning it or anything like that, All right. Till next time.